Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here from Oilers Live with Postgame Sour Grapes coming to you live here from the Heavy Hockey Network studios somewhere in the Atlantic side of Canada. I've got with me tonight Mr. Mike Dirsa from Straight Off the Pipe and Mr. Kirk Morris, Heavy Hockey Network contributor. Tonight's game, a 4-2 thriller, not so much. 4-2 loss for the Edmonton Oilers to the Colorado Avalanche, putting them on the brink of playoff elimination, going into a Monday night game that really is, about series end for Edmonton if they don't find a way to make things work. Let's start with you, Kirk. Give us your view of the game. Love to hear what you have to think.
Well, he started out pretty damn good.
Sure did, yeah.
38 seconds in there, McDavid scores. So, and then they played awesome. I really think that they did play awesome tonight. Best game of the series. Just bad breaks. That's the bad puck luck. I guess you could say. I don't know, but very strong game. Like right from start to finish. That's my basic summary of it all. Just sucks,
Yeah.
But
that's
what else?
That's the best way to put it. It sucks. Yeah. Mike Dirsa, your thoughts. How do you feel the Oilers played? Do you think they played awesome? What's your thoughts on the game tonight?
Well, Connor got it started the right way. And, I think it was over exuberance on Kane's part. I don't think that was dirty or malicious. I think he was just trying to give Kadri a bit of a push there. And that happens. I don't think it was blatantly dirty and malicious. I really don't. I think he was just trying to give him that little bit of a shove and kind of get him off balance. It worked, unfortunately, too well. And Kadri went crashing into the boards. He takes a major there. And that killed the momentum. That took us, off of high octane offense and put us on full alert, red alert defense. And, did an excellent job of killing off a 5-minute major. I mean, that could have been game, set, match right there, in the first 6 minutes of the game. That could have been all she wrote. They kill it off and but you're sitting McDavid and Draisaitl basically, I think, for 4.5 minutes of that major. I think they did get a shift there late in that but they're doing a little bit of killing. And then when Kane comes out of the box, they're almost out of gas already. And we spent too much time killing penalties tonight, and it took away from our ability to attack. I think the penalties at one point in the hockey game were 9 minutes for Colorado and 2 minutes for us. It changed a little bit after that, but we spent too much time killing. And I think it really killed our game. Colorado, they didn't even have a 5-on-5 shot at the end of the first, other than Nurse, unfortunately, deflecting a puck into our own net. I think that, people want to run Nurse out of town. That was just bad luck. That was a fluke play. It wasn't really Nurse's fault. I don't fault him for that. It was just bad luck, and it ends up in the net. But they didn't have a 5-on-5 shot through the first period. I mean, we were controlling the hockey game. But, you're killing that much. You're taking yourself out of the game. And I really think that's a big reason why they didn't get the win tonight, is because they didn't, by killing that much penalty time, you're not on attack. So they limited their own attack time.
Yeah, it's that sums it up. I mean, you come out flying like that. Connor McDavid does what Connor McDavid does, and then he doesn't, see much ice, in the first, because he's not on the penalty kill. Well, I mean, he gets one shift, I think, on the penalty kill. He still ends up playing, I think, about 26 minutes, but it's that's a tough one, right? I'd argue as I did whether it was a major or not. I know Kadri was hurt, and it sounds like he's hurt pretty good. But I'm with you. I rarely think there's very few players in the league, and I put it out there about Landeskog. I don't think there's actually a lot of guys that are out there looking to play dirty. There are some, 100%. There are some. I don't think Draisaitl. I don't think Kane is one of them. I think he plays the type of game he does, and sometimes those hits are going to happen. And it was incredibly unfortunate. You're right. You play 7 minutes of penalty kill in the first. That's almost half the period, right?
Yeah.
And then I really what's a lucky goal goes in, right? And nobody should be. I don't get the Nurse hatred. Here's the thing. I get it if you want to. Well, I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want. Let's be honest. But if folks are out there, they're saying like Nurse isn't playing well, that's a fact. I think it is. I think that's just a fact. But the guy's playing injured, and it's obvious. We're not getting the same Darnell Nurse that we see when he's 100% healthy. And so, if you want to throw him under the bus, throw him under the bus. But the guy's getting out there. If you think he's playing too much, that's not Darnell Nurse's fault. Go after the coaching staff. They're the guys that put him out there. And I said it earlier on game 1. He looked outmatched. I don't think he looks outmatched if he's playing healthy. And so I have a hard time blaming Darnell Nurse, but I also have a hard time that the coaching staff is playing him as much as they are. And I'm not going to criticize Woody and Manson and Gulletson, but I just think that this is maybe the first series that they're being a little bit outcoached, right? And it's and some of that. Look again, Yamo being out really hurts this team. It's crazy to think about it, but that really hurts the team. Draisaitl not being 100%. He can't. Draisaitl with his injury, I don't think he can drive a line. And against a team like Colorado, I mean, I shouldn't say that. Draisaitl can still drive a line. He just can't drive it the way that we know he can, and we've seen him do it in the season. And when you're playing a team like Colorado, who I'll just say it, they've been the better team. Maybe not every shift. The Oilers played one of their best games of the series so far, but Colorado's been the better team overall. I'm not going to take it away from them. They deserve to be up 3-0. Connor McDavid's been more or less held back as far as, as much as you can hold back. Yeah, as much as you can hold back Connor McDavid, he's been held back, and a lot of credit to Colorado for doing that. It stinks. It really does. It sucks a lot, but this team has some holes that Colorado doesn't have. They're a good team.
It's a little unfortunate because I thought they actually had a fairly good night tonight. But
yeah, they played a great game.
A couple little things, and it burns you. The nurse deflects a puck.
You make your own puck luck, though, right? You have to, right?
That puck could have ended up in the corner, but it ends up in the back of the net, right?
Yeah.
Bouchard loses a little bit of a battle, and a squeaker dribbles through Mike Smith.
He got slashed in the play too, which didn't help. But
Bouchard's coming down, and he hammers it off the post. And if that goes in, we're up 3-2, not down 3-2, right? It just
I mean, that's the way it works, right?
It's a game of inches. We easily could be talking about a 2-1 series right now. But
if you're on the other side of the, you're cheering for Colorado. You say they're putting it away when they have to, right?
Yep.
They're getting pucks. They're in the offensive zone, creating those types of chances when they have to, right? And it's it just is what it is. I mean, the Avalanche also played a good game, I thought, tonight. It just happens to be Edmonton's best game, but the Avalanche played a great game. They're on the road. They didn't get, they don't get the matchups that they want, and they showed up. And they scored when they had to, right? They never stopped. And Kadri was out, right? And he's been one of their best players. Look, I hate it. I think that we can still get more out of this Oilers team than we have. I think there's a lot of challenges right now in terms of injury that are really setting the Oilers back. Like, I can't say enough about Darnell Nurse being injured the way he is. The matchups and Bednar's exploiting it.
I think we're
exploiting. Nurse.
I think we're gonna find out in a few days here. You won't find out before, but once everything concludes, whether that's now or in a few weeks from now, hopefully. But I think we're gonna find out he's got obliques basically torn off his chest. I think that's the injury, and if that's what this guy's playing through, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, same thing with Dry. You're basically playing on one leg.
Yeah,
and you can't, like, you seen in his one-timers there. That reminds you, in game 2 there, he did nail that one-timer there, but he just missed. But still, like, even after tonight, after that slew foot by McKinnon, and hobbling away, it's just like shit, just you wonder if everybody was healthy, and if it was all evenly matched, like straight across the board, no injuries, no nothing, what could have transpired, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But
I don't think we're sitting at an 0-3 deficit. I'll say that. I don't know if we win the series, but
no, it'd be a hell of a lot
Colorado. Colorado is a hell of a team, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
give credit where credit's due. Like, they are deep, and Francouz is and once again, I'm going to allude to puck luck, and their defenders, they clogged up everything. It was that one puck there, that Cassian, they're sitting right in front of the net there again, and just can't get a stick on it because somebody already took away his stick. Just the little things like that. Just add up to a whole lot. And it's frustrating as a fan. You want to see them, get one or two. Just kind of to swing momentum, and just doesn't happen.
Yeah. That about sums it up. But I do think, and the reason why I say it is, we talk about puck luck. It's nice to get it when you get it, but at the same time, you make your own puck luck by being in the zone at the right time, by working a little bit harder, by doing the things that lead to the puck going towards the net, right? And that's the only way. Puck luck is exactly what they tell you to do in practice, which is get the puck on net, right? Get the puck on net and, hope that it bounces off somebody, and putting it towards the net's never a bad idea. But you can't fault Darnell Nurse for what, would have been a great play if he had, right? Like, there's no other thing that he can do there, right? Like, he has got to stop the puck from going across the crease or across the zone to the other side, right? Like, it's a surefire goal if it hits somebody over there for the one time in. Darnell Nurse does the same thing. He'll do it, 20 other times, and it won't go in the net, but it did this time. But the real, obviously, I think the real backbreaker is Bouchard hitting the post, and then I think that's a learning experience for Bouchard there. They talked about it post-game, which is, I don't know why he didn't just try to get the puck down low, right? Like, that's what he's got to do. He's got to, if he's got to dive and push the puck away, and even
you're talking that battle.
Yeah.
On the wall.
Yeah.
I just think he took a bad route.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's a learning experience for him.
Yeah, and he let. I'm not sure, I can't remember the guy from Colorado, but he let him get behind him. and you can't do that.
Yeah, Comfer.
Comfort, yeah.
Yeah.
He let him go behind him.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So you're committed then, because if you lose that battle on the wall, then you're fucked. You can't recover. And that's exactly what happened.
Or you push the puck down low, right, to avoid any chance for that
Could have tripped him
breakaway.
too.
That would have been. It would have been. That's the time though, and you talk about this. The Grant Fear style of save. That's the time you need the save from Mike Smith. You can make 39 saves, but if that's the one you miss, that's a pretty big one to miss. And I'm not blaming it on Mike Smith. He was good tonight. He had some pretty stellar saves. But that's the one we need.
Yeah, you need
right?
that. You need that save. I mean, he was phenomenal in the first period on that 5-minute major though. So it's hard to really be mad at him. I'm not really mad at him, but you just gotta have that. You can't let that leak through, and it did.
So we got Jax on YouTube says, I'll criticize the coaching staff. Nurse needs to sit. This was a bad decision. I'm not. You know what? I don't 100% disagree with you, Jax. I think I don't know that I would sit Nurse, but I would play him a lot less. And he goes on to say, when Nurse was hurt at the end of the season, we won by committee without him. And that to me is the point here, right? There's, I've been happy with what I've seen out of Kulak. Look, Keith has had some bad games, but this is when you got to expect him to step up and be the guy, right? Chris Russell, he could have been playing this whole series. In fact, he had a great game.
He did have an awesome. Yeah.
And Jax also says, I won't be surprised if Kane gets 1 game suspension. I think that's it. Matt says it wasn't. Jax says the refs are effing disgusting. That's BS slew foot on Dry, and Matt says it wasn't a slew foot. Dry initiated contact and his leg buckled. What do you guys think? Slew foot or not slew foot?
It's definitely a slew foot. Draisaitl was in front of McKinnon. He's trying to you're trying to get to the puck there, trying to close the gap. And I thought McKinnon lifted his leg and kind of gave him the old chicken wing there, leverage. And that's my take on it.
That was my take. I mean, I don't know that it was the most egregious slew foot I've seen. Matthew Tkachuk has done far worse. But I would have given him 2 if I was calling the game. Dirsa?
I think the knee was worse than both. I didn't like that at all from McKinnon. He stuck his leg out there. I really didn't like that. You watch the panel there, and BX is saying not really a slew foot, but his momentum was going backwards, and I don't know, man. It wasn't pretty.
It's worth 2, right? It's like a high stick, right? Just because you didn't mean to do it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Right? To me, that's the thing. That's what bugs me about it, is that's a slew foot. By every definition of what a slew foot is, it's a slew foot. And you got to call it, right?
To me, that knee though, that can do a lot of damage. That's I didn't like that at all. And same guy. So, if do you want to call it playing with an edge or pushing the boundaries of being a dirty player? And you know what? Some of the fucking acting, we got to call that out. He went down rather easy. No, call it what it was. He fucking dove at the end of the period, like Chris Cupford there saying, or maybe it was the panel. I'm not sure, but it was a fucking dive. So call it. Call the embellishment. Why are we letting guys in the NHL get away with the Hollywood? I just that bugs me, that part of it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, it's and that's been a story this series from game 1. I said it last game. I mean, yes, it seems that every time they touched McKinnon, he exploded. It felt, and it has felt like, they're getting the calls we shouldn't. Some of that goes to what I was saying earlier, though. You make your own puck luck. I don't necessarily buy into the whole conspiracy thing. It is what it is, but I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to see, a fair called game, and I've felt like the last two games were a little bit one-sided for, a NHL group of officials that have, openly said they were
This was
managing
the
games, right?
This was the anti-Tim Peel game, though, for sure. There was no game management tonight at all.
No, there wasn't.
But you don't believe in that, Eber? Like, you don't think the refs have a little side action going there in Vegas, or what?
Yeah, no, I don't buy it. I do buy, though, that there are certain players that they like in certain teams that they dislike. And
they got their favorites.
Yeah, and look, for maybe whatever it is, I suspect that in this case, maybe the Oilers aren't that favorite, right? And sometimes it's one player, I think, right? Like maybe they don't like Kane, right? So they'll call everything against Kane, or you say, like McDavid when he called out what's his name for the the look upstairs, right?
Yeah,
he never got a call from him for a long time afterwards, and those things, like, they're legit, and the numbers bear it out. Like, that happens. The part that I don't buy is the call from the commish saying, hey, we want the Avs to win. I don't buy that. I just think this is officials are human. They have likes and dislikes, and the Oilers, I do think the Oilers have been a good target of that for some time. And I would love to see, I think Woodcroft called it out tonight. I would love to see.
He did, yeah.
I would love to see more Oilers head coaches. I always screamed that Tippett never did it. Take the fine, right? Like, take the fine once in a while. Let's start to like. It wasn't until McDavid's agent called out the lack of penalties against McDavid, until he called that out, that it started to even itself out. Did it just magically all of a sudden people were, like, what bugged me is Patty Maroon said, well, I'm going to hook and hold him. He admitted to it. I'm going to do everything I can because there's no other way to stop him.
Right.
Yeah.
And he said that, and other guys have said that. And yet, guy like Matthew Tkachuk was drawing more penalties than him, up until this season, right?
The one good thing the league does is that the same crews don't get to do, the whole series. Whole series. It's game to game. It switches, and I think that kind of gets rid of a little bit of the favoritism and all that fun stuff.
I'll just say this, though. This is not why we're losing the series.
No.
I mean, it sounds like sour grapes. It is sour grapes. I'll admit to it. I'm a Homer. I'm Homer. Whatever you want. But there's some truth to it too. There is an ounce of truth to it.
When it's 2-1, like, I think I saw a tweet from, I think it was Zach Lang put it out there, that it's Avs have had 16 power plays to our 7. That highlights a little bit of an issue, and I'm glad Jay brought said there's a bit of a disparity here in calls, like, needed to be said. I don't know if that changes the series around, but it's up to the guys on the ice. But yeah, I mean, push for a little bit. They're not that angelic.
Yeah, no, they're not. And that's been always the thing that bothers me is there's no team. I've seen, we've watched games where the other team has gone through the whole game without a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just never seen a team legitimately go through a whole game without doing something that, over the line.
Yeah, you can walk the line. Happen. You can walk the line, though, of not being egregious, so you don't get caught, right? So,
yeah. Anyway, look, enough about the officials. You
guys have your superstitions or stations.
My
conspiracy theories and
all right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Bring
I'm
it
happy
out.
to hear it.
I'm just saying, man. Like, it goes to that hot mic instant. I think it was the Preds game or whatever. And it makes you friggin' wonder, like, if the refs do have some action on the games, and especially now, like, you talk about game management and whatnot there, but for me, it's one bad call leads to another, or leads to like the domino effect. I don't know. For me, anyways, I like I said to Dirsa there the other night on the last podcast, or like my dad and I talked about it. Some games just don't add up. Like you could run guys through the boards and whatever, and not get called, and then the next game you play, they can't keep their whistles out of their friggin' mouths. Like, and it goes to that. Once again, I hate to sound like a broken record. That interview there with Ray Ferraro there in Overdrive in Toronto, and he just said, "I wish there was just straight consistency. You'll never get it, but as far as calling calling the play right, that was his main point. Calling the play right in the moment, and you could rat and rave about that offside there in game 2, and same difference, at least they got the call right in the end. So I'll give them credit where credit's due, but you got to wonder sometimes, man. You got to wonder if it makes me upset, just to sit there and think, what if they've got a large chunk of change, brewing there on their Bodog account or whatever.
This is not an advertisement for Bodog.
No, Bet 365 or Bet 99, whatever. But you get the gist of it. But it makes a guy wonder.
Hey, look, the point you have is the one point is fact is that it's been caught, right? Like it's been caught on microphone that there was a legitimate practice, and like to say that it was just Tim Peel, like that's bullshit, right?
Yeah, he's just the guy that got caught.
we're not idiots, but hey, this is the post game, and if we're being legit, officiating is not what's costing us here. Let me ask you, like, what are the Avs doing differently in your mind with Connor McDavid that nobody else is? Like, they've seemed to have solved the Connor McDavid take over the game. Is this a coaching thing that Woodcroft needs to make some adjustments? Because I have my own theory on that as well. But what do you guys think? I mean, what are the Avs doing that really is getting them? And obviously they've got Cale Makar, who is an absolute beast. Like, he's, in my mind, right? Like they, to me, for me, I think it's about who Woodcroft is playing with Connor in this series, right? Like, I think for some reason he's got off of his game plan because it's the Colorado Avalanche. I think you got to keep Draisaitl on with McDavid, right? Like, that's got to be the full meal deal. And looked at Fogle, Puljujarvi, and McLeod line. I think we found something there that's pretty good to watch. And then I really liked it when Hyman was playing up with Draisaitl and McDavid. Sometimes, and people were saying this earlier in the playoffs, is go to some of the things that have made you successful when you get there. And for some reason, I feel like maybe this is where Woodcroft's inexperience has come in, and he's looking at this Colorado team as being the real true test. And now he's second guessing everything that he's done before he got here. And I think he's got to go back to Draisaitl and McDavid and let them win some games for us. I mean, obviously they got to win 4 in a row now, like we did to Calgary. Have I mentioned that? Did we win 4 in a row against Calgary? I think so.
Yes, sir.
We got something to smile about.
The biggest thing for me is they're not slowing down the game. It's a track meet. They slowed the game down considerably against Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as McDavid goes, like, they're limiting his time and space, and you got to.
That's where we could use a
again,
couple calls.
Yeah.
Right.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Won't go there again.
Yeah.
As far as, like, time and space goes, like, their depth, like, they're slowing us down, and yet they're still running away with like the odd man rushes there too. I don't know. What do you figure, Dirsa?
I see them fleeing their own zone a little early, and we don't make them pay for it. Like, we need to sustain that zone time. I see their forwards jumping out a little early.
Yep.
And you need to make them pay for that. I thought Tyson Barrie actually had a great game tonight, keeping pucks in and really, because I think he's recognizing that they are leaking out a little early. So if you can hold the zone and sustain that zone time and put the pressure on them, then those forwards fleeing the zone aren't back to defend, and you got an opportunity, to have instant offense because they're already gone. I see Makar and McKinnon out a lot against McDavid, and they're trying to force him to the wall and then pressure him, and they're taking away the middle of the ice from him. So that's something to look at. If Connor's in the middle of the ice, he's hard to defend because he's got everywhere he can go. But once you put him on the right wall, if you can stop him from blowing by you, you can contain him, and then you can get the puck back and go the other way. And I think they were doing a good job of that. We're at home, so we should be able to control the matchups a little bit more.
Yep.
So you should be able to get away from Makar and McKinnon. And it's something you probably should think about doing because they're doing such a good job of containing him. So yeah, I guess that would be on Woodcroft, and I'll say something like, you were talking about the officiating and the fix being in and all that, and whether there's something to that or not. I take the kind of Michael Jordan attitude to sports, and if you're playing 5-on-7 out there, that's what it is, and that's just an obstacle. You need to either get around, get over, or get through. Don't let it stop you. Who gives a fuck who you're playing against? Win the game. That's my attitude. So yeah.
Yeah,
so or that's what you need to bring.
And Dirsa, that's a good point. Which is, and I said this first game, like, despite whatever they thought of that call on the offside, which I've come to think was a legit offside, and Actually, here, guys, I want to talk about that because I've had a chance now that we're in Game 3 to think about this offside a lot, as we all have, and it'll be obviously a source of contention for Oilers fans for a while. But here's the thing: I think in 95% of the time, the whistle is blown on that play,
for sure,
and nobody argues it. Cale Makar wouldn't say, "Oh, but I didn't touch the puck until after we both tagged up," right? I don't think anybody argues it. It's just offside. The only time that gets to be called a legitimate offside is if it goes to review, because it meets the criteria of the tag up rule.
Yep.
But that's the only time that would ever be called an offside is if you review it. Because 95% of the time, I think they call that offside and nobody would argue it.
I don't know how they didn't call that offside because the ref was on the other side of it.
Well, it was so far, yeah.
Makar sticks in the way and the puck's, on the other side of the stick. And it was so close. Like, I don't know how you don't blow that down.
So anyway, that's I don't want to get too in depth on it, but I've had time to think about that a lot, and as we all have, and I really feel like that's called offside 95% of the time, if not more, 99% of the time. And the only time it's a legit offside is if you review it. and that's, in this case, that's what happened. And it's legit. It was a legit offside, but you would never know until you went to or it was a legit onside play, but you would never know until you went to the instant replay. But that's my my thing. Hot Grease on YouTube says, is it worth it for the Oilers to switch to Mikko in net for Game 4? It's a good question. What do you guys think?
Just one second.
Well, I don't know. Dirsa was
Dirsa's really like this question really bugs him. Obviously, can't be here for this.
I was just gonna say there in the group chat there. Dirsa figured that he blew a groin there out there, not one play, or because he could see that in that third goal there that he didn't close the 5-hole up there like he usually does, and obviously it squared through. But what do you figure? Do you guys think that Smith is injured, or?
I don't think he is. My own personal opinion, but you think he is, Dirce?
Yeah, no, there was 3 times he was laying on the ice, and the one time he had this look on his face of anguish. He skated over to the bench and he talked to Mikko there for a minute. Mikko was like scrambling to get ready to come in, and no, I don't think he's 100% right, but I don't see a goaltending change. I think they let him run it out.
And I think you're going into an elimination game. That's a tough time to
make the switch.
Yeah. I mean, and look, if you're Woodcroft in that instance, that's a lose-lose situation, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say lose-lose. Maybe Mikko comes in and has, a hot hand, but if you lose the game and Mikko's in net, then that's what people point to.
And Mike won't pull himself.
No, not a chance.
And I don't think Mikko, he had a bit of a good showing when he came in Game 1, but he was shit when he came in Game 1 in Calgary. So we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen enough good Mikko to be confident that it's going to be any better than what we see in Smith.
He has, technically speaking, he did play very good against the Avs this year in the regular season. So, but playoffs are a whole different ball of wax.
And when Mike Smith went out after Lucic ran him over, Mikko held the fort for him and maintained the shutout for Smith. Smith didn't close the deal, but Mikko did good in that little 15-minute relief stint for Smitty there too.
Yeah. So curious, guys. Let's give the thought that Kane's going to be sitting for a game. What do you do? Who do you bring in? What do you do in this situation? Now you're down, assuming Yamo's out for the rest of the series. What do we know what's gone on with Yamo? No? Something Landeskog did? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we've got, Yamo out. We've got Kane potentially out for Game 4. What do the lines look like? It's clear now that we need, I hope to Woodcroft, it's clear you got to have McDavid and Draisaitl playing together. And if there was ever a time to just say, let them play 35 minutes tonight, next game is it. I mean, what else do you got, right? You have to, it's a must. This is the only must win, right? When you're down by 3. In hockey, people talk about must wins, but this is legit the only must win, right? Your season ends if you don't win it. And, Jack says if both Yamo and Kane are out, I'd like to see Holloway. I mean, do we see Holloway get a start?
I thought that would have been today, but instead they would roll to Brad Malone, which turned out to be not a bad decision because they were on the penalty kill so much.
Fair. Fair, yeah.
I think they'll bring in Brassard before they bring in Holloway now. because if you didn't see him tonight, you probably won't see him for the rest of the way. I don't know. Either that or Shore.
I thought Shore was actually going to be a part of the lineup. I think he was out there for warm up. So.
Yep. No, it'd be Broussard or Shore. I just have that feeling that you don't pull out all the stops there with a rookie, that has zero NHL experience, let alone playoff experience. So
yeah, it's a little bit like putting Mikko in net, right? Like it's one of those things where if he gets lit up somehow, that's a big loss, right?
I like Ryan Rashog's take on that though. If you're dressing a forward, he's actually, sorry, it wasn't Rashog, it was Jason Strudwick. If you dress Holloway, he's a long way from the net, right? So he's not like the last line of defense. So if he makes a mistake, usually that doesn't, kill you because there's defenseman and a goalie behind that. So
yeah, fair enough.
That, and he ranted there on Friday about keeping the game simple. Just do three things, just keep, just skate your arse off, make a hit, and try to make a play.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, Oilers fans would love to see Holloway, obviously, but Oilers fans for years have been calling for the next one up, like the next All-Star up every time. We had the chat with Robbie Schremp. I remember when he was sitting on the sidelines, Oilers fans always wanted to see him up, and it was always whoever's down in the minors that could potentially make a difference. We all thought would be the next McDavid for some reason. And I'm not sure, bringing him in a situation like this is smart. If he does somehow contribute to the Oilers losing the game, I mean, that's a lot to put on a young guy's confidence. And especially with Oilers fans, they'd be on him like, one game they'd be suggesting that we trade him, right? Yeah. So, what about defensively? I mean, would you keep Darnell Nurse in, or would you run him 11-7 again and just run him less minutes, or would you keep playing him as much as Woody's playing him?
I thought Bouchard actually had a tough game tonight, but you don't hear that. Like it's like Darnell's the new whipping boy.
Well, Bouchard defensively has a lot of work to do. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I thought Chris Russell was fine tonight. And when you're killing penalties that much, I think that's where he actually really excels. So I would have liked to have, honestly, I would have liked to have seen a switch with Kulak and Nurse, just switch partners, but that didn't happen. And you know what? I thought Nurse was fine tonight. Just the one gaffe.
I just think Nurse is playing.
He's hurting. He's hurting. I
he's
mean,
playing
it's obvious,
like a guy that's injured. And I don't think you put the blame on Nurse in this instance. I think you put the blame on Mattson and Woodcroft because I think they're overplaying him.
I still would flip Kulak and Darnell but maybe Kulak and Barry, they just feel comfortable with what they're getting there, and it's hopes and prayers that Darnell's gonna have,
Like look at Tanev, right? When the Flames put in Tanev, I think that was a mistake.
Yep. I think Tanev for Calgary though is more of a liability than Darnell is for us.
But I disagree when it comes to the Avs. I think that's the thing is we're overplaying a guy that is having trouble keeping up on occasion, right? Like he's just being outmatched, and you might as well, have two guys that at least aren't injured, right? That are splitting those minutes, especially if you go 11-7. Yeah. Or maybe you throw in Broberg. Yeah.
Yeah. The speed definitely with Broberg. That.
I thought he should have been injected actually over Chris Russell, for game 3 or even game 2. But now you're going into game 4. I don't think you're sitting, you're next to Keith, probably your most veteran guy.
Yeah. Jack says the Oilers are down 3-0 without Holloway. It wouldn't be on Dylan's shoulders if we got swept, and maybe he's like Cole Caulfield from last year's playoffs. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Jax. I think like nobody would blame him for the series.
No.
But if he got walked or something led to the goal that, Oilers fans are a fickle bunch, right?
I'd like to see him injected into the lineup. I just don't. I don't know. I think there's kind of this pecking order thing that he doesn't get to skip a few steps and go ahead of other people. I think that's really what we're up against here.
We were talking about it last year. Same thing last year, right? Put Holloway in, weren't we? Wasn't Stoffer saying Holloway's gonna come in and be the playoff savior for this? Like, that's the other part of this, though, is the guy still never played, right? Like, you're going to put him in, and what are you expecting from him? That, like, I do think he's going to be a very capable NHLer. I have no doubt about that. Guys take time. Draisaitl wasn't great in his first season.
Yeah.
Right?
But you never know. Like, it's it's like you're throwing a grenade and you're not sure if it's going to go off or not. Like it could, but maybe it doesn't. Like
it is tough. It's a tough decision for somebody like Woodcroft to make, and I just don't think that there's a win in playing him. And don't get me wrong, Jax and anybody else, I would love to see this guy. We've got more cheap sex than Tinder commenting on on YouTube now.
You know throwing him in there is like spinning the wheel on the price is right. You could land on that dollar, but you might not. Like, more chance you're not, but maybe you do. Like, that's, to me, that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah. No, and that's kind of the way I look at it. But I would love to see him. Who knows? I mean, it's not. Though, to Jax's point, maybe it's not the wrong call to put him in. It's just not the call.
Not the end of the world, but
yeah.
It's
just not the call, and it's not the call I think that an NHL coach makes.
No.
Especially at this point in the season with it all riding on the line. Okay, last question, and we're going to call it a night. Do either of you guys feel that the Oilers can come back from a 3-0 deficit? Or do you think the series is over, and is it over next game, or do the Oilers have at least a win in them?
I think they got a win in them, but to rattle off 4 straight against a very good team like the Avalanche, that's I'm not going to say impossible. I noticed Dash there posted on his Twitter there about miracles. Yeah, it could be a miracle. You never know until you do it. But with this Avalanche team being this deep, choking out our offense like they have in the last 3 games, I don't think so. I hate to sound negative. The series isn't over, but you kind of got to weigh out the facts. I hope that they do come back, and I hope they do win. And that's the optimist in me there. But when you've got half of a Draisaitl, half of a Nurse, and what other, half of a Smith, it's a tall order to ask for. It really is. But I think they'll go 6, possibly, but just gotta play it out. Just gotta go one game at a time at this juncture.
What's the Lucic saying? We go one game at a time, 4 games in a row. Oh man, that was idiotic. All right. Your thoughts, Dirsa?
Well, I kind of think the measure of a champion is in these moments. I think of Connor McDavid, what's going through his mind tonight. as he goes home, to his girlfriend, to his house after dropping that game. And it's going to be hard for him to get any rest. And I hope that he finds a way to get some sleep and spends the day tomorrow, going to that lab in his mind. And this is where you become a champion. It's in these moments. You can quit. You can say, we're done, that's it. Or you can say, no, I want to play another game this year.
Yeah, I mean, Connor started his big response, right, in an elimination game, right? Yeah.
And until they get into the Stanley Cup final, every game they're going to play for the rest of the year is an elimination game. And sometimes that brings out the absolute best in an athlete, and sometimes you wilt under the pressure. And I just don't think that him or Leon Draisaitl or a lot of guys really in that locker room are the type of guys that are going to wilt under the pressure. You're going to see the best in them. You may not win, but you're going to see the best of what they have to bring. And, I think that was starting to happen tonight. And then they kind of got that punch in the gut with a major penalty. Might have been a totally different game if that penalty doesn't happen, but it did. So you're up against it. Can they win the series? Yeah, they can still win the series, but it definitely is a tall task now. But you do have to start on Monday night, and you have to find a way to win that. And then you have to board a plane to Denver, Colorado, and come with the same mindset that you're going to have to come with on Monday. And then you have to win that. And then you got to go home and rest, recoup, and recover, and do it again. And then do it again in Denver. It is not easy now. It is not where they want to be whatsoever, but now that's irrelevant. They are where they are. You gotta win a game.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the biggest point you made there is that each game is a elimination game now until either Stanley Cup Finals or end of season. Okay, last question. We're going to call it a night after this. If the season ends, I should answer my own thoughts on that, which is, I don't feel like the Oilers are coming back and winning 4 straight. But when you've got 2 of the best players in the world on your team, and I think we talked about this Koskinen Smith thing. The one thing Smith does is, as he's shown, is he always bounces back. That goal to Compher is one of those goals. He's going to be, you talk about it, Mike, keeping him up all night. That's going to be the goal. Smith's going to want to make that up for his team. These guys got to win in them. I feel that. I think, I don't think we're going to see a sweep. I think they got to win in them, but that is a tough mountain to climb, and I certainly wouldn't put any money down on it. But anything's possible, and if they do, holy shit, are we going to have one hell of a party. Okay, last question, and then who had the last word last time? You or Dirsa, you or Kirk? I don't remember. I'll have to go back to instant replay. We'll have to get a review on this. I want to know, because I've been thinking about this. I had some folks over to watch the game tonight, and they said, you must be pretty down. And I said, well, you know what? I mean, we won to date the series that really mattered to me, which was the Battle of Alberta, right?
Yep.
And I'm pretty damn happy about that, because nothing is worse than listening to Flames fans chirp at you. And so here's my question, which is, legit question. Most of us didn't. Some of us didn't think the Oilers were even making the playoffs this year. Most of us said the Oilers need to go deep. This is deep in the playoffs for it to be a successful year. Do you feel like this has been a successful year? I'll start with you, Dirsa. If the Oilers, A, get swept, or B, if they win a game or 2, Like, is there a difference? What's your thoughts on the success of the year and how the outcome of this series would factor into that?
Well, I'm probably not the right guy to start off with on this, because my attitude is basically like Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last. I'm not satisfied yet. Like, you're here. You're 8 wins away from the Stanley Cup. So why not more? You're a top 4 team in the NHL, but are you happy with that? It's better than getting swept in the first round. I mean, that's an improvement over the last couple of seasons. I thought that would have spelled Tippett's demise, is getting to the first round and getting bumped right away, and he didn't even make it that far. So I'm glad we made the coaching change and got Jay and got the ship righted and made the playoffs and kind of went on a little run. And it's nice to kick Calgary's ass, and embarrass them, and their fans should shut the fuck up now. I shouldn't see them chirping on Twitter anymore, because you guys got smoked. You got rolled. And I was nice about it afterwards, but what are you guys chirping us for? We kicked your ass. The Avalanche would have beat you in 2 games. Like, you got fucking rolled. So shut up. So you shouldn't be talking anymore. You got worked. So you're here now, and you're in this spot where you're down 3 games to none. But you're not done yet. Get after it. Make a series out of this at least, and go from there. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, you want more. There's still kind of like I'm still thirsty.
All right, fair. Kirk?
Well, I kind of mentioned this here last game, after the last post game there that we had, and I'm happy for the guys. First time in 16 years that we've proceeded this far. Am I bummed? Will I be bummed? Yeah, of course I'll be bummed if they do get knocked out. Just like any other fan out there, like you want your team to win the Stanley Cup. Who doesn't? Just for me though, I said it. I'm proud of the guys of what they've accomplished. Like, just as you said, like we if they didn't make that change, at the right time, they wouldn't be here right now. So I'm kind of taking a glass half full approach to it. Just say, hey, you know what? We came a long way this year. Sucks that we're not going to go all the way. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of take a look at what was and what could have been, and go from there. Just take it as another lesson learned in your career type of deal, and move forward. And then there's going to be people out there going to be purely negative. Oh, McDavid would be wanting out and all this and that. And same with Draisaitl and whoever else, all the negative nannies out there. And it just, I think that they'll come back even more hungry next year. And Woodcroft will have a leg up because he'll have a full camp. He'll know what to deal with, and then go from there. And it's going to be last summer was a huge turning point there for the team as far as free agency went. I thought Holland did some really good moves. Now at the time there, I was kind of cursing, about CC.
Yeah.
And then I hopped on Twitter there, and I seen all the Pens fans saying, well, geez, you're getting a good guy. And look what happened. He was one of them glue guys on the back end. And same thing with Kulak, at the deadline. You're not going to hit home runs with every trade deadline, but he was another good pickup, and I just, at the end of the day, you look back at what the season was, and I'm pretty damn happy.
Yeah.
Case closed.
Yeah. You know what? So here's my thought. I get the whole Ricky Bobby thing, Dirsa. I do. I think though that's a short lifespan for a hockey team. Like when they look at it that way, right? That's what why the whole term rebuild has come out, right? Like, is folks, guys like Ken Holland who espouse patience to build a team, right? Like that's how you build continuous championships, and so here's my take on it, because I'm 100% agree, Mike. Like, I want more. I would love to have said we have we're going to have, a Stanley Cup banner raised. And that's not to say it's not over yet. So I'm not even going to talk like that, because it still could happen, as unlikely as it is. But the way I really feel about this is, it is a season success is if you're incrementally better than you were the year prior. Right, is that you get better, and that you don't just get incrementally better, but that you're set up the year following. Now, the thing that we all got to sit back and think about is, at the beginning of this season, everybody said this goaltending tandem would not take us anywhere in the playoffs, and here we are sitting in the Western Conference Final, right?
Yep.
Everyone said this defensive core would not take us far in the playoffs, but here we are sitting in the Western Conference Final. And guess what? Next year, Koskinen's gone, right? We've got some open space on that to maybe do something in some of those key areas, right? We've got, one more year of Keith. We've got some things, but we've got another year that we can do a little bit more with. And so, yeah, I think that, look, if anybody, I see Matt is, there's an Avs fan that's chirping a little bit on YouTube, and go ahead and chirp, because look, the Avs have a great team this year. But if you think for half a second that this Oilers team isn't going to be back in the Western Conference Final next year, bigger, badder, and better than they are this year, like, this is the team that everybody counted out. This is the best team since February 10th that's still in the playoffs. They got the best winning percentage. And, this is to me a successful season because we made it this far. And if now you can't regress going into next year, right? This is the cutoff now for next year. They got to be here and better. Like, they can't be getting swept in the Western Conference Final next year, or that's that's a failure.
Would you say that they're quote unquote cup contenders now, or no?
I think depending. I mean, everything depends on what kind of offseason Holland has. But look, this team was up there. There were 3 teams over 700 win percentage since February 10th, which is the day Woodcroft stepped behind the bench. Florida, Calgary, Edmonton. And the only team left in the Stanley Cup final or playoffs, Edmonton. If anybody says this team's not a Stanley Cup contender next year, it's just bias as fuck. Right? Like, it is just pure Oilers hatred. If you don't think this team with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, who has taken his game to a whole other level, is not a Stanley Cup contender. They're a Stanley Cup contender this year. They're in the final 4 of 32 teams
rights
in the league.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, it's a success. I think it'll be more of a success if we don't get swept. Right? Like, because Mike, when you said it, we're within 8 games of a Stanley Cup. We're still within 8 games, and we're in the Western Conference Final, which kind of drives me a little bit nuts. So we need to win a game at the very least for me to feel a little bit better about this. But anyway, that's my my little rant on. I've been happy. I've just loved some of the things, and look, next year hopefully, there's some pieces that. Who knows what happens with Clefbaum, right? Like, there's a lot of different things, and stuff that's going on, and we're gonna see, an off season that I suspect Holland will have a little bit more success because guys got to watch Connor McDavid play. Guys will know that this is a contending team now. They can believe in that. And I think, that makes usually for a little bit better of an off season. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. It was more like $1.50, but all right. Dirsa, you've been nice and quiet tonight, so I'm going to give you the last word tonight because, hey, I know it drives you bonkers to stay there and just sit there and listen and have me demolish one of the things that you say. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You saved that for when Dash is on with us.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I'll say my final few things, and then let Kirk. I'll let you say yours, and then we'll finish off with Dirsa tonight. Again, as I always do, thank you everybody for tuning in, including you, Matt, Avs fan. I love. Hey, I think it's good when other teams join into the argument, and some good chirping is always good. And we'll never see eye to eye on anything because we all have a little bit of a bias, and that's just part of being a sports fan, and I 100% respect that. And respect the Avs. They put together a hell of a good team. Cale Makar is an absolute beast, and Nathan McKinnon is too. And whether we win or lose, it's a treat to watch good teams play. And I can respect that. I love watching good hockey, and seeing Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon go head to head is something we've all been asking for, and I think we might see in the future, right? Like, I think this is potentially the next sort of Western Conference rivalry going forward. So that's kind of there. For all of you that are listening in everywhere, please make your way over to youtube.com/heavyhockey. Hit that like and subscribe button for us. Would really help us out. Even if you never come back, just hit that subscribe button. Maybe you'll see us and you'll have time to tune into a show, but do that. And check out heavyhockey.com. We've got some great contributors, and we're going to go into a new season of Oilers hockey, and we're going to be bigger, better, and badder than we were before, and hopefully we get some other content as well from other teams around the league. That's my plan for Heavy Hockey Network, is that we extend beyond the Oilers realm. Even if it's Flames or whoever, but just add in some other teams and have some different opinions and ideas. I'm looking forward to Game 4, and as I look forward to every other Oilers game, I'll be cheering loudly out here in Atlantic Canada, as I did tonight and every night the Oilers play. Love this team. I love the players on there. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I love Darnell Nurse, watching him play. I wish he wasn't injured, but love watching him play. And I've been critical of Mike Smith many a time this year, but he's had a fun and interesting playoffs, and he's helped get us this way. So we will do a post-game, Game 4, no matter what the outcome. So I'm going to be looking forward to doing an Oilers win to make us 7 games closer to a Stanley Cup. And that's all I've got to say. Kirk, give us your last thoughts, and then let's hand it off to Dirsa to say goodnight for the night.
Well, I forgot to mention there from this game, another bright spot in the Oilers' future, and Ryan McLeod. Just his speed there again, and my dad just kept yelling at the TV. He just said, "Just shoot the puck," and lo and behold, he shot the puck and he scored. So my dad there, he kind of does get animated from time to time, and he does watch our podcast there too. So shout out to my dad. He loves YouTube, so just any more content he wants to watch, My hats off to him there. I am the newest. I'm the newest guy here under the hockey, heavy hockey realm, and I just want to say thanks to you guys. Once again, for bringing me on as a contributor, both here now. I never thought in a million years I'd be podcasting, and lo and behold, here I am talking to you guys about a sport that I absolutely love. But yeah, I definitely want to see a glass half full, ending here for game 4. And I hope the boys take one, at least take one there for the year and not get swept. Yeah, I just hope they bring forth their best effort as they can and go down swinging. And that's pretty much it.
Off to you, Dirsa.
Yes, sir. So I'm not interested in doing a post-mortem on Monday night, but I will if we have to. Yeah, I really think the next game start the same way, but just stay out of the sin bin and make it really difficult on Colorado. Keep pushing and see if you can extend this thing, send it back to Colorado, and go from there. Lots of work to do. I mean, it's not easy, but like Kevin Durant says, anything is possible.